Okay, let's go once again. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Grandmaster GM.MESHKOVS is with you, and in today's episode we are going to cover the Game 5, Day 5 of the World Championship title match between Indian super prodigy Gukesh the Maraju, current challenger, and Chinese world champion Ding Lizheng. So in today's game, Gukesh played with white, and Ding Lizheng had to defend with black. And before we analyze the game, just a real quick information about the Chessify platform. That's a powerful tool for pretty much any level of chess players to improve their strengths based on the different source of tools like bases, strong engines, and many other features. So feel free to check the link in the description. With a promo code MESHKOVS20 you can get 20% off for your first purchase, so check it. And now let's have a look at the game. Gukesh once again switched his route and played e4, and Ding sticks with his main weapon for this match. He plays the French defense, e6, so d4, d5 was played, and quite unexpectedly Gukesh decided to take on d5, and we have an exchanged version line of French defense. So, well, I have to say that usually players choose this line if they want to have a very stable game, low risk game, and it seems that Gukesh was in such a mood for today's game. So he plays knight f3, Ding responds with knight f6, bishop d3, and c5 is probably one of the most important, most active options for black. And here white has several options to proceed. So Gukesh played c3 at this moment. However, other options are also fine. Let's say if white chooses the most straightforward option and takes on c5, then after bishop c5, short castle, we get IQP type of position where black is objectively fine because they're having their pieces actively, and they can generate enough activity, enough active play, so their isolated pawn is not a big deal, and it's completely fine for black. So alternatively to dc5, also a move like short castle is existing. Actually, it's the most popular move, and the point is that after c4, white has an important intermezzo, rook e1, throwing a check, and after bishop e7, bishop can hide on f1, also sort of very typical maneuver in many openings. And the point is that it's like provocation from the white's perspective, as after black makes castle, for instance, white undermines those pawns on the queen side, and after cb and ab, black plays something like knight c6, and we have a very balanced type middle game position. However, interesting that according to my database, most of the results on this line led to a decisive result for either side. So maybe we will see this line in the later stage of the match. Who knows? I would not be ready to predict this, but you never know. Anyways, after c5, Gukesh played c3, and after c4, he went back with a bishop to c2. So both of them played very quickly in the opening phase. Ding plays bishop d6, and white throws a first check. But check is not enough. It's far from being something dangerous for your opponent. So Ding plays queen e7, and they trade pieces immediately. So after 9 moves only, we have a queenless middle game. Already in move 9, and this means that the game will not be very sharp, especially with a symmetrical pawn structure we have here. And yeah, it seems that Gukesh approach for game 5 was like fasten seatbelts and safety first. Yeah, and so white makes castle, black plays rook e8, and white checks. So Ding goes back, king f8, and this is sort of the traditional way of castling against the artificial castling for Ding. So you can write in the comments which type of castle do you prefer. Me personally, I like more artificial one. I think it's more cool. But yeah, anyways, in the game they just trade rooks, and yeah, I mean the position remains very balanced, mainly because of the symmetrical pawn structure. So white tries to be active with making some developing moves with tempies, like attacking on f6 and with the idea to trade on f6 and then take on h7. So black plays knight d7 and Gukesh plays knight bd2. Very, very solid. So black plays h6, white retreats, and Ding plays knight h5. So another super logical move from Gukesh is to finish development, bring the very last piece that is not yet in the game, and if you can do it with a check, then okay, amazing. So Ding just sidesteps with a king to f8, and yeah, so I was quite surprised, to be honest, because when I checked, I figured out that it's not a fresh position yet, and which came a huge surprise to me, that exactly this position, happened 12 days earlier, 18th of November this year. It was played between Damjanovic, Vuk, and Kramer in Petrovac. To be honest, I don't know what was the tournament, but yeah, the game followed with knight f1, g5, bishop went back. After knight g3, knight took on g3 with the idea to land on f5. No one allowed that, and black just captured on g3. And pretty much, yeah, as the game is very, very much balanced, black just finishes development, like knight f6, bishop d7, and brings the rook into the game, and in 10 moves, players agree to draw. So basically, instead of knight f1, only here on move 17, officially novelty came to the board, and novelty was g4. So Gukesh, despite having quite I can't really say boring position, but a very calm position, let's put it this way. He still shows some ambitions, and well, that's good, I believe. And also a fun fact, in a post-game conference, Gukesh mentioned that it's already his 3rd game in a row in this match where he plays g2 to g4. Also not something very, very common and traditional, especially in the very top level. So yeah, although this approach may lead to any possible result, as we have seen, Gukesh lost in game 1, then he won in game 3, and so today was another game. And yeah, it definitely deserves some style points from me personally. I mean, let's go. I like the spirit. So after g4, Ding plays knight f4, bishop goes to g3, knight b6, also sort of logical move to prepare something like bishop d7, and then most likely rook e8, and also he attacks the pawn on g4. So Gukesh tries to play it actively, and g5 is the very right approach, so he's, trying to get something, and you never know, like, you have to create those small traps or threats, because knight h7, king g8, and rook e8 is pretty much a mate. Like, you shouldn't underestimate the power of minor pieces, yeah, but of course, on such a level, players see such threats within a few seconds. So Ding plays bishop d7, covers e8 square, also frees up a channel for the rook. And yeah, Gukesh decided to go back. He understood that probably there's nothing to play for. He goes back, and okay, Ding plays rook e8. So far, it seems like a very balanced game, and nothing spectacular happens, to be honest. Yeah, so now he plays knight e5, and Ding takes. And here comes the pretty much biggest surprise of the game, because for whatever reason, I actually don't know, but Gukesh decided to take with a pawn, and it was quite a serious mistake. So instead, he had to take with a rook, and then we have this trade, and knight on f4 hangs in the air, so probably, Black can play something like g5 and just support the knight, or retreat back to e6 with the idea to push d5, d4. Also, I was quite surprised that move knight e2 with the idea to go to c1 and attack the a2 pawn also was something that Engine sort of liked. And I mean, it would be still a very leveled fight. But instead, White took with the pawn, and the reason why it's actually quite a serious mistake is that Black gets a chance to play knight d3, and this knight d3 was a very, very strong idea, because after bishop d3, c d3, you can tell me that, okay, I mean, White's so strong, Black just damaged their pawn structure voluntarily, and what's the point, yeah? But the thing is that actually this pawn on d3 becomes a huge beast, and it's pretty much impossible for White to trade it or get rid of it. And yeah, this was certainly something that Gukesh misevaluated or just missed for whatever reason. Of course, it's still very, very far from being somewhat critical for White, but usually professional chess players in such moments, they have this feeling that okay, something definitely went wrong, and yeah, at this point of the game they only try to generate some optimal strategy to secure half a point, and yeah, avoid taking unnecessary risks in the later stage of the game, because if you do so, you can struggle forever and still lose the game. So Gukesh plays f3 with the idea to bring the king. Very logical. Ding responds also with a very logical approach. Knight c4. He's trying to be active, hitting the knight, hitting the pawn on b2, and pretty much leaves no chance for Gukesh to deviate. So he forces trades on c4, and with this trade, he secures protected passer on d3, which is a very good option, very technical one. So yeah, I would say that strategically it's a risk-free position for black. You can never ever lose unless you do something completely stupid. But yeah, still it's far from being critical, but it's certainly unpleasant with such a beast on d3. So Gukesh reacts properly. He sort of tries to relocate the rook to d4 to place it behind the pawn and stop it from advancing further. Yeah, here comes the critical moment. It turns out that it's critical. Normally it shouldn't be, but I don't know why, but Ding spends only about 5 minutes and plays bishop c6, which is very strange. Indeed, it's very strange to me. So after rook d4, I don't know, maybe he missed something or misevaluated, but I would say that with bishop c6, he sort of lost his chances to win this game. And yeah, the most confusing part to me is that after rook e4, after rook e4, Ding still had, I think, 42 minutes on move 27, a bunch of time. And the best option for black would be to place the bishop to e6, sort of secure this untouchable, very powerful and stable formation. And after rook comes to d4, then play rook c8 with the idea to shuffle it using the fifth rank to either b5 or a5, hitting those pawns. And yeah, then at the same time, rook on the fifth rank attacks the f4 pawn. So then in the later stage of the game, black can try to, shuffle his king to f5 and then maybe push g5 at some point, maybe do something else, but this or that way, it would be still very, very challenging for white to deal with all these unpleasant threats. Yeah, I would say that this is something that if you get a chance like this, you have to use it. And yeah, probably it's a great moment to mention about Magnus Carlsen, because he has shown us dozens of times how you can squeeze water out of the stone and outplay the very, very best players in the world in outstanding fashion, having those small advantages. Yeah, unfortunately, Ding misses it, and yeah, also, as we already mentioned about Magnus, today is also his 34th birthday, so maybe we can wish him to enjoy the game of chess as long as possible, because he truly shows amazing chess, and that inspires pretty much many fans all around the globe. yeah, anyways, black played bishop c6, and it also has some point. So, for instance, rook c4 would be a horrible blunder, because after rook d8, black is about to push that pawn, and if you do play rook d4 now, then I trade and play d2, and the pawn is unstoppable and reaches the first rank. But Gukesh plays rook d4, and yoo-hoo, it's a free pawn on f3. You know, it should be fine. But the problem is that now Gukesh comes closer with a king, and at this point, I'm still very surprised for the second time by Ding's decision-making process, because he played bishop c6 almost instantly, if I'm not mistaken, and this just means that he has no ambitions whatsoever. Although I do believe that alternative like bishop h5 still would be somewhat unlikely to work overall, but you can still play on. Like if again, rook c4 is a big blunder, because then you can push pawn, and bishop on h5 helps to reach promotion square with a defense. So rook d4, d1, takes, and black is winning. But yeah, after bishop h5, probably white has to come closer with a king, and then you play b5, so you solidify pawn structure. I know it's still quite unlikely to win such a game, but you have to try at least, because I already mentioned today, and would repeat the same point. If you are not risking, then why not to try? And this is sort of risk-free approach is very important for a chess player to try, and you never know when your opponent will make a mistake. So yeah, with this bishop c6, I was once again surprised for the second time, and yeah, pretty much the rest of the game is no commands are needed here, because after rook d8, Gukesh plays rook d4, and they just trade everything, and okay, bishop d5, b3. We have an opposite bishop color ending, where neither side can make a progress, and yeah, Ding just places all his pawns, all his pieces on the light squares. White does almost the same thing, placing his pieces on the dark squares, and after repetition, we have another draw, and 2.5, 2.5. That's current score in the match. What should I say about this game? In the opening phase, Gukesh seemed unlike the other days, having white pieces, and it looked to me that Ding did not experience any particular issues, and he was almost in a cruise control today, but until he got an advantage. And to be honest, yes, it's strange to see such an impatient game from a world champion today. I think that's okay. Who am I to criticize? But yeah, normally you can throw chances or semi-chances in a match, because you never know when you get another opportunity, and if you get one, actually. So yeah, pretty much that's it for today. Also, I wanted to mention that tomorrow we have Game 6, and tomorrow Ding will play with white pieces. You know, winter is coming, and traditionally Game 6 was unique in many matches before. We already mentioned Magnus, so maybe it's worth to mention his what happened in Game 6 in 2021 when he had to face Jan Nepomniachtchi. So they played an absolutely unreal chess marathon of 136 moves, if I'm not mistaken. And game lasted, I think, almost 8 hours, something like 7 hours and 45 minutes. That was an absolute record. And the game ended with the Magnus victory. That's what I meant by squeezing water out of the stone. And it was both emotional and I do believe that also physical knockdown for Nepo. And he never got back in the match in the later stage of the games, and the later stage of the match. So stay tuned for tomorrow's action, and see you guys tomorrow.